If you like to laugh, and who doesn't, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to My Funny House with the Powell brothers. Frank Powell is a real estate broker who was born and raised in San Diego, along with Frank's brother Mark, a real estate broker who also lives in San Diego. Each week, the Powell brothers bring in a special guest comedian to share hilarious real estate stories so you can learn what can go really right and what can go really wrong with home improvements and home ownership. So now, let's get into it. With My Funny House, here are your hosts, Frank and Mark Powell on The Answer San Diego.
Good morning, San Diego. What a beautiful day it is today in America's finest city. My name is Mark Powell, and welcome to My Funny House with the Powell brothers. I'd like to introduce my brother and real estate broker and partner, Frank Powell.
And best friend.
And best friend, right? Of course.
Hey, this is Frank. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, to My Funny House. We got some cool topics today, but before we start, we got to always welcome our sister that's in studio with us, Maria Herman.
Yay!
Welcome.
Yay! Again.
Thank you. G'days all around. Happy Saturday.
Do you actually throw shrimp on the Barbie in Australia? What is that?
Well, sometimes we place shrimp on the Barbie. I mean, you can be more precise about it, but you know, we can chuck them on the Barbie. That's what we don't say throw. We say chuck.
You know, when I was in Australia, Frank and I, remember we were in Australia.
We used to say chuck. Yeah, I remember.
I liked Vegemite.
Tastes like Australia.
Vegemite,
Remember there was a song about a Vegemite sandwich.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Do they use
Men
that?
at work.
A bunch of termites?
right.
It's like peanut butter or something?
Oh, I think that
true?
was a show from like 100 years ago
Yeah.
we did, wasn't
Talked
it?
about eating termites
African.
again.
No, Mark always talks about termites.
Today we have a
There
really...
are no termites in Vegemite, just so you know.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
good.
It's vegetables.
Oh.
That's probably why
Just
that's probably why I got that name.
Vegetarian termites.
Today we are going to talk about 50 essential real estate terms that you should know. And these are terms that people should know. They're not very difficult terms. However, the explanation behind the terms can be a little bit challenging. So we're going to go over those terms. And the first term we're going to talk about is appraisal. What's an appraisal?
We should ask Maria
Well,
because she's like a
this
our
is-
guest.
This
You can
is
see if
where
she knows
I
them
come
or
in
not.
and I decide if you're a 5 or a 6 today by what shirt you're wearing. So
You're going to appraise
let
us.
me
Yeah, we get
appraise.
appraised.
Let me see.
So, Frank, you want to tell them what
Yeah,
an
an
appraisal
appraisal is an opinion that an appraiser gives on what your house is valued at the time of the market. So there's a market condition. So they go, what is your house valued at compared to other like properties in a similar area, and an appraised value? And they take in consideration the age of the house, the condition of the house, the upgrades of the house. There's a whole bunch of things that you can add in there to give you a value. And they usually do it after you get an offer on your house.
Now, do you always need an appraisal to buy a house?
No, not if you don't get a loan. Right?
That's right.
And
Exactly.
sometimes, even if you do get a loan, like I'm doing it right now, there's a loan in it, but they're putting $300,000 down, so they skip the appraisal contingency.
They waive the appraisal
Yeah.
fee, yes.
No, they waived the appraisal contingency,
Correct.
but they still left in the loan contingency.
Right.
But they know it's going to appraise.
I feel like I'm always waving something or at someone. I'm just generally waving at people.
You'd be a good agent because
I'd
there's a lot of
be a
waving.
great agent. I'd be like, I just wave at everyone. Let's wave everything.
So,
the deal.
Frank, you mentioned something there. You mentioned something called a loan contingency. What is that?
Well, we can talk about an appraisal contingency.
Okay,
Right?
yeah.
Because we're on appraisers, right?
Right.
So you have a certain time frame in the contract that you fill out when you're doing a residential purchase agreement. You have certain things that you have to get done in certain times. So the appraiser contingency is something that it's almost in the middle. It's 21 days after you open escrow. So you have 21 days to get your loan, solidified. Then the lender will send out an appraiser.
Well, it's
within that
actually
21
17 days for the appraisal standard on the form.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
The loan is 21.
The loan is 21.
Right.
17 for the appraiser.
But it could be 21 days if you negotiate that.
Yeah, it depends on what you want to do. There's
Right.
standard time frames that you can always change because everything's negotiable. But basically it says, okay, we know we're going to get the appraised value comes in, so go ahead and release that contingency. So it's like another step forward. You go, okay, we got rid of that. Now we got to do the inspection contingency, and then we also got to do the loan contingency. We'll talk about those later.
So what he means by contingency is says, I will buy this house contingent upon it qualifying for a loan, contingent upon me getting a loan,
Yeah, meeting
and
certain
contingent
standards.
upon the house being in good condition with no real big issues like.
Well, the inspection, like even if
Right.
there's a big issue, you can do what's called a request for repairs. But,
I do that all the time. So I was thinking that when it comes to contingencies, I understand it now. This is when I say to my husband, yes, I'll go to Hawaii, but you have to lose 5 pounds first.
Yeah, that's
Right?
exactly right.
Okay,
It's
I've got it.
contingent.
Only
on-
5? My
Right.
wife said 10 for me.
Yeah.
Well, where were you going? Hawaii?
Yeah, exactly.
And then what was the next thing you were going to talk about? What was the next part?
As is. What does a term as is mean?
Oh, that's how I married him. That's- yes,
God,
if
guy-
you saw him, you'd understand.
He's got it.
I'm willing to
take-
sell him that way too.
As is.
Frank,
As
can
is.
you use a term as is?
You can. I mean, it's been fought in court that it's not a real legal term, but yeah, people use it all the time. It means we've priced our house under the conditions as is. However, you still are allowed to do your inspections and to make sure what that as is means. You don't just buy it blindly as is because they may be possibly
So
hiding something.
have you ever sold a house and you say this house is being sold in its current as is condition, and the buyer say, yeah, no problem, and then they still ask for repairs? Does that ever happen?
Well, every time.
Exactly.
You can say
You can
that
say as is
and
as
then-
much as you
right,
want.
and then once they do the report, they're still going to say, hey, here's a report, and we know you priced it as is, but we found some certain things that we really want to go over because we didn't see these when we first looked at the house. And that's why you do a home inspection.
That's correct.
Well, don't they disclose these things usually? Aren't they supposed to?
Well, they
You know,
don't
I
know.
would-
Like sometimes you don't know if your roof, your attic has a stain in it, or there's a bunch of rodents up there, or you have a cracked foundation that they were not aware of, and some people are just not aware. You have to know what you're.
I
looking
remember
for.
I asked a seller once. I go, "Does your roof leak?" And he said, "Only when it rains."
Yeah, which is hardly ever. It should be.
Which is
We're in it.
as is,
That's-
but only
that's
when
an
it's
as is.
Mark,
raining.
you want to sell that house during the drought that we're
It's
having?
California. What do you want?
Right.
Hey, okay, here's another one. Frank or Maria, what are CC and Rs?
Well,
CC&Rs.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, that is something that you can get rid of if you dispose of your refrigerator properly. But am I right?
We're very close.
Okay.
conditions, covenants, and restrictions.
Right.
Every neighborhood has them.
Right.
I mean, some neighborhoods have an HOA, but every neighborhood has CC and
Ooh,
Rs.
wait, you just had a big term there. HOA.
HOA.
What's
Homeowner Association.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody knows.
We all
what
love
that is.
those.
Oh my goodness.
Right, no conflicts
This was
there.
some
Like I'm the
serious-
one person owner, like in my homeowner association, it's just me. And then I tell my tenant, my husband, all of the things that are expected of him to upkeep the property. Why isn't he
Right.
doing it?
Did you fine him?
Every night.
Yeah, restrict them. Put them on restrictions.
So yeah, the HOAs, homeowners association, they're
CC&Rs.
and CC&Rs go pretty much together. So these are the
Well, basically you have rules. Like you can't own a giraffe, so you think you don't have an HOA. Well, you still have rules, okay? So you can't have a tiger in your backyard, right? Because CC&Rs are certain
Lighten up,
conditions.
Frank.
I better cancel that eBay order.
Yeah,
I
there
just-
you go. You could buy one, but you can't, poisonous snakes. A whole bunch, doing a commercial business in your backyard.
Right.
Certain restrictions no one can do. So you should ask for the CC&Rs during the transactions.
Wasn't CC&R banned from the 70s?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Clearance, Clearwater. recycling.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Hey, Frank or Maria, either one. What are closing costs? You always hear this term. Hey, your closing costs are going to be this. What are closing costs?
Well, Maria, do you want to try to answer that?
Go ahead, give it a shot.
Closing costs. Well, they're totally opposite. See, there's this other thing called an opening cost. You get those.
the opposite of
the minute you
opening.
open the door, there are costs involved, and those are the opening costs.
Right,
The
it's just
closing
kind of
costs
correct.
are at the end. I'm guessing. I mean, I don't know.
You are 100% right. They're at
Okay.
the end. Some closing costs can be, Frank.
Commissions,
Yes.
escrow,
Yes.
title fees,
Yes.
home insurance fees,
Yep.
national disclosures. I mean, you got the booklets for $99. It gives you the natural hazard disclosures.
Well,
right?
that's another thing. Okay, so closing costs are the fees associated with closing a real estate transaction or closing escrow. We'll talk about what escrow is.
What about taxes?
Yeah,
taxes,
taxes is one of
yeah.
the closing costs.
I mean, the government's got to get in on this, right?
Always.
There's a bunch of taxes that you have to pay.
Oh, there's more and more coming.
You know,
Every time you turn around, there's another tax.
you know, did you hear this thing? They want to tax us on the miles that we drive.
Vehicle miles traveled, of course.
It's crazy.
Well, how else are they going to get their money? You know, they make
pay
us
anywhere
go to-
from 2 to 4 cents just for driving.
Well, the
a mile.
problem is it was such a hit to get an electrical car. They didn't have the gas tax. Isn't working out that well. They need more money, so they go, how do we tax the electrical cars? Oh, let's tax them on every mile they go.
Yeah,
2
but it's
cents.
also affecting real estate.
Well, not only affecting real estate, but they're watching where you're going. They have to have a geolocation, which is
geez.
not too cool, right?
we
But
don't
we'll talk
like
about
that.
that another thing.
Speaking of geolocation, geo is another term, but how about DOM? What's the term DOM? DOM. DOM.
I didn't think we were going to talk about that on Saturday morning radio. But
Oh God! Yeah, there's sub and there's dom. Yeah.
DOM is a term for days on the market, and it's a term that we use to identify whether a house is priced appropriately, correct?
Well, yeah, you have to go like, why is this house on the market? There's some houses that have been on the market for almost a year. You know, so it's like if you see 300 DOM, that's 300 days on the market. You got to go, why?
oh, you see, that's what happened. That is exactly what happened with my husband. He was on the market for like 3 years or something. And that's why I had to buy him as is.
Yeah. You take him as is because he's not going to change.
Okay, I have another term that's also an acronym, EMD. What is
Straight to the hospital. That's what I said.
What's No, that's
It
an
sounds
EMT.
serious.
That's an EMT.
Yeah,
Oh, dear.
EMT.
EMT. No, what's an EMD, Maria?
Well, you gave me a piece of paper where I can see what it is.
Go
so
ahead
I
and-
can make a good joke
Go ahead. It's
about it.
easy. Yeah, you can.
Earnest money deposit.
Yes.
Earnest money. That sounds so honest, doesn't it?
It is exactly what it
Sounds
is.
very
Right, well,
honest.
what it is
sounds
is-
like honest money deposit.
Does-
Is honest money out there? That's what I want to know.
Well, it's real money, so it's the amount of skin you're putting in the game.
Right.
So if you're doing an offer on a $2 million house and you go, my EMD, my earnest money deposit, is typically 1 to 3% of the cost of the house. But usually we tell people to put about, what, 10 to 15,000 down. You
Right.
have to come up with that cash. And that cash is sent to the escrow company who cashes it within 72 hours, and it sits there.
Right. It just sits
Okay, it
there.
doesn't belong to anyone right now. When you get the transaction closed, it goes back to the seller, and they use that as part of their...
And then
closing
what
costs.
happens if, like, let's say a buyer removes all their contingencies and the day before escrow is going to close, the day before they're going to take the house, they go, I changed my mind. I found a different house.
Well, then you get to keep that money.
Right.
So that's why the more the EMD, the
seller
better.
does.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have more to lose. So if you have someone buying a house and they only want to put $2,500 down for EMD, they'll probably walk away from that without being too hurt.
Right.
If you have a person that puts $30,000 down, they probably want to close escrow, not make mistakes, and do everything in the time frame that's allotted to them, which is loan contingency, appraisal contingency, and the inspection contingency.
Right.
Sounds like you could make some money on the side if you had a business where you made the house haunted right at the end.
Oh, we've had
and
that.
would frighten the buyers away, and then the sellers would end up with the money.
Well, you
and
have to
could get a
dis-
cut of
Well,
it.
actually, that's called a material fact, and that's one of the ways they can possibly get out of it because we actually been into haunted houses, Maria.
Frank, what is it? Okay, first of all, Maria, you were correct when
Yeah.
you were saying that it was a trust.
I never hear that, so
No,
thank
it
you.
was a trust thing because an earnest money deposit is also can be referred to as a good faith deposit,
Yeah.
good faith deposit. It's like
the
showing,
other thing is it could have been from a guy named Ernest. That's the
Yes,
other.
yeah.
That could have been it. It's not a Harry money deposit
Yes.
or
Or a Fred.
or a Fred money
Yeah.
No, it's
deposit.
Ernest.
It's Ernest money.
but
But
Frank,
all
you
right.
brought up a material fact. That's another term you should know. What's a material fact?
This is one that even a lot of agents don't know how to explain, so I'm going to explain it to everyone. A material fact is something that you would like to know about the property that could influence how much you pay for it or whether you're going to buy it at all. I'll give you a really good example. In the University City in San Diego, we have a flight pattern that the Blue Angels fly over. Okay, so every year, they haven't done it in the last 2 years because of COVID, but they're going to come back and they fly very low and they're very loud. Why would you want to know about that? Well, we had this happen. We had a person that was experienced PTSD from being a combat vet, and when those jets flew over the house, it rattled him, and he didn't know that was going to happen because no one disclosed that these Blue Angels fly over the house. So it's something that can happen outside of the house that you should tell people, and these are called material facts.
Yes. But I
There you
like
go.
the Blue Angels, though.
I love the
It
Blue
doesn't
Angels.
bother me when they
Well,
fly
you're not a
over my-
combat vet with PTSD either, are you?
Right. No.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd
So you
be
got to be
horrible.
careful. You know,
Yeah.
you have to
That people
respect.
probably don't
That's
even
true.
think about it because
They don't
I like
think
the Blue
about it.
Angels. You
That's
wouldn't
true.
even think that that's something that
Right, but-
somebody
Have
would.
you ever met the Blue Angels?
No.
Well, I have to tell you, I have. I don't mind if they fly over. I also don't mind if they knock on the front door. Just saying.
Give you a ride. I'd like to go on one of those jets.
Frank, this is something that we always hear, and people will throw this term around. Hey, did you check out the MLS today? You see what that's on there?
The
what
MLS, the
what is the
MLS,
MLS?
Well, that stands for the multi-listing service.
Or
and that's-
multiple?
Multiple listing service?
Yes, multiple.
Oh, did I say multi?
You said multi.
Sorry.
Like Maltese,
Yeah.
like the
okay.
Maltese
Yeah,
Falcon.
Like multi-meal?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm so glad I don't live with either of you guys.
Multiple.
Multiple, yes.
Yeah, that's a weird sound.
It is.
Multiple listing service.
Yes.
And that's where the different associations gather all the data, and they put it up there and they display it for the world.
That's right.
So you can go and look up a house. But right now with Google and with all the search engines, you can basically, if you want to know about a house, even your house, like what you think it's valued at, it's very easy. You put your address in Google and press enter. And or if you want to see a house that's for sale and you can't get a hold of somebody, you just put the address in there and you'll get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 20 search sites that will pop up with all the information, including who to get in touch with.
So what happens with the multiple listing service, and Frank, you're correct, is that the realtor will take a bunch of pictures and they'll enter all this data into a service, a multiple listing service that realtors access to look for homes for their buyers
To get a matching property.
or to put a home up that's being listed for sale for their sellers. A bunch of different online realtor websites will either pay for this or work out a deal with the multiple listing service where they have access to this information, and that's how it gets out into the world.
Correct. So when somebody puts your house on the MLS, it's literally going to thousands of international sites where everyone
Right.
in the world can look up your address
Yep.
and see that it's for sale. It's easy now.
Wait, so the whole world can see my address?
Yes.
The whole world could see. If you go on,
Well,
if you
all
go on-
right then.
If you go on Google Maps,
You know where to send me chocolate.
She's putting putting her name
Feel
out
free.
there. Okay.
Take my number as well. Why not?
Google Earth, you can get right to the house and like walk by it. It's so bizarre. Anywhere in the
Can
world.
you see me?
almost.
I'll wave.
Yeah.
You know what the funny
That's
thing
what I do. I wave.
That's right. She's waving things. That's from the beginning. Yeah, she's been waving things since the beginning of the show. Okay, so listen to this. Natural hazard disclosure. Just sounds kind of weird, like natural
Ooh.
hazards. What's a
Well,
natural hazard
it's-
disclosure?
As opposed to not a
Flooding?
natural hazard. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
flooding.
Yeah.
That's a natural hazard.
Yep.
Fire.
Yep.
Unless it's arson, it could be
How about-
natural.
Powell Brothers.
No.
One, California, there's a big one. Mark, what's the big one in California?
Earthquakes.
That's right.
Yeah. But we don't seem to be too rattled, or we're a little jaded when it comes to earthquakes. Like when right now when the earth shakes, we're like, is it going to be a bigger one?
Yeah.
No, it's a small one. And then we just go about our business.
Right. I would rather live in a place that had maybe an earthquake than all these tornadoes are hitting the middle of the
don't-
country.
I don't
Okay,
I
if you
don't-
live in California, do you have to disclose for an earthquake? Isn't it?
Yes.
Kind of
Yeah.
isn't it a foregone conclusion there may be an earthquake?
Oh, no.
No.
Now, what you really have to disclose is that all of San Diego now is a fire zone. It used to just be back east, and it used to be, but after the huge fires that hit our community and wiped
Right.
out, I mean, there was like Rancho Bernardo got wiped out. You would never think that fire came all the way down to the 5.
Right.
And if you don't know where the 5 is, that's right by the ocean, and then it jumped over the 5. So there was a couple fires that they actually took a defense on the 8, Interstate 8, and they were just waiting for it to just go
They
right
took
past.
a defense on 805 by the
The
dump.
dump.
Yeah,
Yeah,
about to enter University
It's
City.
crazy. So after these huge fires and what's happening with the drought, everywhere is considered a fire hazard. That's a national disclosure. Fire, earthquake, flood. What else is there? Bomb ordinances sometimes.
Yeah,
like in Terrasana.
unexploded or that's not
That's
a
not
natural.
natural. That's right. That's not
So here's what
natural.
happens. If you ask a seller that's selling their house, can you tell us about all these natural hazards you have in the area? They may not know. So a company, there's a few companies,
Right.
they got together and they go, okay, well, let's delineate all of the natural
Make a
hazards.
brochure.
And make a brochure, and we'll sell it to you for $100 or so, and then you just give them this brochure, and you can look at your
Buying
address.
a property is all about disclosures. You want to know everything possible, so you don't come back a year later and say you didn't tell me this.
Yeah, you built. My house is on an earthquake fault line. You know?
Mine's on an earthquake fault
Yeah,
line
but
and by a canyon. So
Isn't that something
earthquake.
that you guys also will advise a seller?
Absolutely.
No, for sure.
You'll say, well, I know what the natural disclosures are.
Yeah, everywhere there's like it's a California thing. So you'll talk about like radon gas, which we don't have, but there's a natural disclosure for radon gas comes out of granite. So if you live like in South Dakota, North Dakota, you can have radon gas coming out of those mountains, and so these are like natural hazards.
Hey, you know,
What if you have a really pesky neighbor? Is that like a natural hazard?
No.
That's a material
Mrs.
fact.
that's a
Mrs.
material.
Smith
Okay, what's a material? Oh yeah, I
is
already said
just
it. Everything.
terrible.
Yeah.
Mrs. Smith and her 50
Oh my
cats
goodness.
Yes.
who live next
Yes.
door.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
you know what? If you live next door and you go like, I'm not going to tell the people buying the house that my neighbor's a nut and that there's 50 cats and they're jumping over my fence. That's not good. That's called a material fact. Like I said, something outside the property line that can make you wonder if you want to pay for the house, not get it, or reduce the price because it's a nuisance. So you have to talk about the nuisance.
You know,
Yeah.
you know what a PO. You know what? Okay, this is. You know what a POF, not a POS. A POF.
Well, you
is-
sure have a lot of alphabets.
Come on, all your letters from A to Z.
It's
gone.
called. What's
It's
a
gone.
POF?
It doesn't
proof-
last long. Woof.
Yes,
I don't know
It's
what
my
it
vape
No,
pen.
it's
No, it's
true.
a proof of funds.
That is.
Oh, I was right then.
So,
Yeah.
It's
so,
gone.
so
Poof,
w-
you're
in
right.
a real estate transaction, sometimes the seller will say to the buyer, "I want you to prove to me that you have the money to buy the house." So the buyer then
Well,
has
if
to
you're a
do
good
what?
agent, you tell your seller. I mean, you tell your seller, "Hey, we need the proof of funds. I'll ask for it."
Exactly.
And you say, "Show me the money." That's
Yeah.
the "show me the money" clause.
Yes.
And I don't care. I don't
Wasn't
want
that a show? That was a movie, wasn't it? Show me the money. Show me the money. Something.
Yeah, it's like
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Oh, well, it was. Oh yeah.
Show me the
I
money.
remember. Oh, that's right.
Agent.
Okay, I get that now. All right.
So anyway, proof of funds. We want to see that you have the cash ready to go. It can't be some house in another state that hasn't sold yet. That's not funds. You have to make sure that if you show them proof of funds on a 401k, what the tax implications are. So, don't say you're going to throw in this money and then realize, oh, I have to pay 30% tax. If I use this, I don't have any funds. So make sure you talk to your tax advisor
But
before.
your clients, you're going to check how much money they have before you
Absolutely.
even show them a house.
Of
aren't you?
course.
Yes.
You're going
Right.
to pre-approve them,
Yeah.
pre-qualify them, pre-approve them.
I mean, because that would be a waste of your time to go and
Well,
see like
we'd like to say,
five $2 million houses, but they only make $80,000 a year.
But sometimes it's nice to just
Correct.
cruise around and check out a 5 or 10 million. You used to have a house kind of like that, didn't you?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, I know that. Hey, guess what? We have an REO. What's an REO? And it's not.
Oh, Speedwagon.
we have a rock group going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, the REO.
Real estate and music industry
what
seems
did REO
to.
stand for, that one group? Everyone's out there
REO
screaming it.
Speedwagon. I don't know what the
Yeah, but
REO
the
stands
REO
for.
is like something.
I know what it stood for.
Maybe it stood for real estate owned. Maybe
Yes.
it was a real estate owned Speedwagon.
That's what it was. REO is a real estate owned by the bank. What that means is when a house goes up for foreclosure and it's not sold at auction, it then reverts back to the bank and it's called real estate owned by the bank. And then the
REO.
bank finds a realtor, a local
No, a bank finds a asset manager.
an asset manager company,
Right.
correct?
Yeah, they take them because the bank doesn't sell the house.
No.
The assets, that's why it's called an asset manager. They take the assets and help get rid of them. So they hire an asset management company
That's
to
correct.
sell the REOs.
Right. And then you'll see it.
We're out of
on-
time. We're out of time.
No.
No.
Oh, God, I just looked at the
Oh, okay.
clock.
Well,
we
tell
had
us.
so many more things
We
to
have so
talk
many.
about.
We
Okay.
have to go. We
All
have
right.
to do this in another show.
But how do we get a hold of Maria?
Well, Maria,
It's
how do
too
we get a hold
fast.
of
How do
you?
we get a
That
hold of
was
Maria?
fast.
Well, I'm here now. So you can find me at comedyheights.com, Maria Herman Comedy. Check out our shows. They are so much fun. Fridays at Bay Bridge Brewing in Chula Vista. Saturdays at
Get
Twigs,
out.
Twigs Coffee House. Yeah,
Yes,
come out.
get
and
out.
live
Go
comedy.
see 'em.
Live a little bit. We've been
Yes.
in lockdown too long.
And how do we get a hold of us, Frank?
Well, the Powell Brothers, give us a call at 858-922-7725 or hit us up at powellbrothersrealty.com. Or you can follow us on the YouTube channel, My Funny House with the Powell Brothers. Hey, thanks, loyal listeners. We love you. Thank you for tuning
Thank
in.
you
Have
very
a great
much for
Saturday.
listening. Yeah, enjoy
Maria,
the rest of your day.
You're part of our group, and you'll
Yay,
never leave
Maria.
us. So
Well, she's our
let's give it-
sister. She's
okay,
part of our
thank you,
family.
Maria.
Yay.
Powell-
Sister Maria.
Powell
Yeah.
Siblings Group.
take care, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for joining us today for My Funny House with the Powell Brothers, right here on The Answer San Diego. Join us next week as the Powell Brothers bring you more funny stories of what can go really right and what can go really wrong with home improvements and home ownership, and bring the laughs to you with yet another hilarious guest comedian. To find out more about the Powell Brothers, be sure to check out their website at powellbrothersrealty.com, or you can visit myfunnyhouse.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week for My Funny House on The Answer San Diego.